Okay guys, so in this video we're going to talk about Delta Airlines stock ticker symbol DAL versus United Airlines stock ticker symbol UAL. So which airline stock is the better buy, guys? So let's get right into it. So we're looking at a chart now. I'm using TradingView, one of my favorite stock charting softwares. You can get this for free at tradingview.com. And if you take a look here, this is the year-to-date chart for Delta Airlines and United Airlines. So as you can see here, Delta Airlines is the blue line and United Airlines is the red line. So if we take a look at both of these stocks, we can see that just year to date, Delta Airlines is down about 56% and United Airlines is down about 67%. So just based clearly off which stock is down the most, it would make it look like United Airlines is the better buy, but we're going to go through some of their balance sheets and kind of compare some of the things with these two stocks, and I'm going to give you guys which stock I would prefer. So let's just start off with Delta Airlines. What I want to do is I want to pull up a little bit nearer term chart so I can show you guys exactly what's been going on. So as you can see here, basically most of these airline stocks have been trading within similar ranges, and people have been wondering, should I buy Delta Airlines? It's a little bit cheaper, or should I buy United Airlines? So first off, let's start with the balance sheets, guys. So it's really hard to kind of look at revenue because a lot of these stocks have basically seen a 90 to 95% reduction in revenue since the whole closures in Q2, and since things have kind of opened up a little bit back. TSA has been reporting that every week since like the last 4 weeks, airline travel has been increasing. So we should see a little bit of a rebound within Q3 and Q4. But right now, let's take a look at the balance sheet, guys, because I think the balance sheet is the most important factor here since we can only control things that are in our control. If we can't make people fly and things like that, what we can do is we can look at which company is financially more stronger. So let's take a look at Delta's balance sheet. So there's a couple of things that I like to look at a balance sheet. I think there's lots of different things that are very important here, but I like to simplify things because when you simplify things, you can just kind of focus on, I think, what's really important long term. So we're looking at a couple key factors here. The first factor we're looking at is total shareholder equity. So that's actually, if you guys from Balance Sheet 101, you've got assets equals liabilities plus equity. So liabilities is things like current debt and long-term debt. Current debt is debt that is due within the 1 year. Long-term debt is debt that is due more than a year from now. So we're looking at shareholder equity. We can see that that is actually the portion of the company that you basically own outright, that is not debt that has to be paid back. So as you can see here, Delta has about 14 billion in stockholders equity and 11.4 billion in retained earnings. So retained earnings is another number that I really like to look at, and it's actually a number that Buffett uses. Buffett says that over the long term, a stock price will basically match a company's retained earnings. So I think Delta has a pretty strong retained earnings over the long run, 11 billion, and a decent stockholders equity. And then of course we want to look at things like total debt. So the debt for Delta Airlines has been growing, which is 22 billion. So if we to compare this to United Airlines, let's look at those same statistics. We can see that the shareholder equity is smaller, only 9 billion, and the retained earnings is much smaller as well, just under 8 billion, and we can see that the total debt is actually greater than Delta. So this kind of tells me a few things just looking at the balance sheet. It just says that basically Delta is a much stronger company because it's better, a higher stockholder equity, higher retained earnings, and less debt. So just off the quick balance sheet test, I would think that Delta is the stronger company. So now let's take a look at some other metrics, guys. And what I'm using is I'm going to bar chart.com. So I like to use barchart.com for their stock comparison tool. So I want to kind of blow this up for you guys, make it a little bit easier to see. So as we can see here, this basically is comparing the stocks side by side. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about, as we see, we can come down here and we can take a look at some key statistics. So as you can see here, remember, United Airlines is the one on the left, Delta Airlines is the one on the right, as you guys can see here. So just remember that for reference. So If we take a look here, we can see that United Airlines is a much smaller company, a 7 billion market cap. Delta is a $16 billion market cap. And also United Airlines has a lot fewer shares outstanding, and the annual sales is lower as well. And as you can see here, over the last quarter, they lost quite a bit more money than Delta did. So guys, just looking at the quick eyeball tests and things like this, Delta just seems like the stronger company. It's a much larger market cap. It has higher sales. It has less debt. It has a higher stockholder equity and higher retained earnings. So for me, if I was just looking at strictly fundamental analysis, I would go with Delta Airlines. And that was actually the airline stock that I used to own, but I actually sold Delta Airlines and bought Walmart. But that's another story for another video. So guys, now I want to go back to the stock chart and talk a little bit. Now I talk about fundamental. I want to basically talk a little bit about the technical analysis. Okay, so if we take a look at both of these stocks, it's clear to see that Delta is just simply cheaper, even though there are more shares outstanding. And it just seems like United Airlines, me personally, I fly Delta. I haven't flown United Airlines in probably years since I was a teenager. But whenever I fly internationally, I fly Delta. And looking at a technical point of view, basically these stocks are basically identical in terms of their patterns and things like that. So for me, I would just lean towards Delta. I think it has a stronger balance sheet. I think it's a better brand. It's a larger company. And in situations like this, when I have a choice between a $16 billion company and a $7 billion company, I'm not worried about which stock is the cheapest. I'm worried about which company is going to avoid bankruptcy. So, in cases like this, I do believe that size does matter. I think a company with, better retained earnings and more shareholder equity and less debt has a much better chance of surviving this crisis, because we know that the companies that do survive this year, the companies that survive in 2020 are going to be sector dominators in the future, because so many companies will have basically went out of business or just merged. I mean, this is going to be wide open for the companies that survive this. So for me, I would recommend Delta stock over United Airlines. United Airlines does have a few nice things going for them. They have a really, really the most comprehensive airline network in the entire world. But in a situation like that, that could be bad, because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. And I think Delta just has just a better overall run company, in my opinion. So one of the things I like to look at is, I want to also show you guys another way that we can compare these companies. We can simply look at profit. Okay, and to kind of tell you guys, to kind of give you guys a comparison on how I think that Delta is a better run company. As you can see here, I'm in the key statistics in Yahoo Finance. So this is up to date for the most recent quarter. And Delta has a profit margin of 7.76%. So that's the total net income, that the percentage that they keep from the total revenue is 7%. And with United Airlines, their profit margin is only 2%. And another key statistic that people like Buffett and a lot of people rely on. Buffett likes to rely on return on invested capital, but I think return on equity is a pretty decent figure as well. It's like the total net income divided by total shareholder equity, and Delta's number is 25%. And United Airlines is only 10%, guys. So I think across the board, Delta is a much stronger stock, and that's one of the reasons why I recommended them as a strong buy. The only other stock that I think can compete with Delta in terms of airlines is Southwest Airlines, and I'm going to make another video comparing those two in the future, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content on stocks like Delta, United Airlines, and other airline stocks. So that's until next time, guys. Take care.